This is Unit 5, Lesson 1, Business Sense. In the Launch Explore Discuss, we have a story about two twins, Carlos and Clarita, and they want to make some money. And they figure that they're going to make money by opening up a place where people can bring their pets. Well, they have this shed in the backyard, and they're going to hire some window cleaners. So they have two companies to choose from. They have Sunshine Express Window Cleaners, and we will abbreviate that as SEW. And they've got Painless Window Cleaners. That will be PWC. Which company are we going to recommend? So the first one, Sunshine Express, charges $50 just to come out and then $10 per window. The other company, PWC, charges $25 but $15 per window. So the question is, which company should you choose? Well, Sunshine, although it's more expensive to begin with, it's less money per window. And Painless starts lower but charges more per window. So you figure somewhere they're going to equal each other. So we're going to prepare an argument to convince them which is the better thing to do. And we'll start this with a table. So the table is going to be the number of windows, we'll call that X, and then you're going to have Sunshine Express windows and Painless window cleaners. And we know Painless and Sunshine, they both charge you some money just to show up for 0 windows, 50 and 25. Now, Sunshine Express, it goes up by $10 every window, while Painless goes up by $15 every window. So if we start numbering this, we're really looking for the place where both have the same value or same cost. So the first column of SEW is going to go to 60, 70, 80, 90, etc. This is an arithmetic sequence. Painless Window Company goes up by 15. So this is going to go to, let's see, 40, and then 55, and then 70, 85, and 100. Did you see right there? They have the same value. At 5 windows, they're both going to charge you $100. Now, the next thing to do would be to figure out an equation so you can graph them. Well, do you remember how we did arithmetic sequences? At the time, we would have done something like A sub n is A1 plus n minus 1d. The n minus 1 was because we started counting at 1. On this, we're counting at 0. So we don't use n minus 1, we just would do something like n. However, if we want to graph this in Desmos, we're going to have to turn this into something like y equals. And instead of using the variable n, we would have to use the variable x. So A1, remember, was, okay, where does it begin? Actually, we're going to jump back to A sub 0. And then n minus 1 would just be n. And then this d is the common difference. So for Sunshine windows, that would be something like y equals, and then it starts at 50 and goes up 10 for each window. And for Painless windows, that would be something like y equals, starts at 25 and it goes up by 15 each window. Now, when you do this on Desmos, it likes to color the lines different colors. So I'll do this one in blue, and I'll stick to red for the other line. So for the Sunshine, it starts higher, but it's not as steep. And for Painless, it starts lower and has a steeper slope. So I'm not doing a very exact graph here. We could do a very exact graph using Desmos. When we do use Desmos, we do get the point of intersection here as 5, 100. Okay, then the next scenario works exactly the same as this one, except with a little twist in the end. So now, as we read the bottom paragraph, they're going to have the window frames repainted, and they're looking at two different companies again. So on to the next page. There's paint by numbers is going to be $100 just to sand the frames, and then it's going to be $16 per hour. Paint It Right company charges $24 per hour, and they've got a $38 waste disposal fee. Now, there's two kinds of costs in business. There's a fixed cost and a variable cost. So $100 is a fixed cost. It's not going to change. 38 is a fixed cost. And what we mean by fixed is not changing. F-I-X-E-D, not broken and then fixed. No, fixed meaning unmoving. And then the other variable is what you would call the other number is a variable cost. So $16 per hour, $24 per hour, there's your variable cost. So again, if we make a table and we look at hours, we'll just call it X, and then we have two different companies, Paint by Numbers, PBN, and Paint It Right. Okay, so this would be 0, and this would start at, Paint by Numbers starts at 100, and Paint It Right is going to start at $38. Paint by Numbers is going up by 16, and Paint It Right is going up by 24. Now, what's going to happen is we're going to get down here to 7 and 8, and the one that's cheaper is going to switch. So it's going to happen between 7 and 8. So let me just get my calculator out here, and let's go through this one column at a time. So 100, and then obviously the next one is going to be 116, and then we're going to have 132, and then 148, and let me see, 148 plus 16, 164. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Got a couple more to go. 180. Then 196, I believe, is the 7. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No, I missed it by 1. Let's see. 196 and another 16 is going to be 212. 212, let me just erase the 7. Put it here. And so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There we go. And then Paint It Right starts at $38, and we're going to add 24 onto that, and keep adding 24 as I go down. This is an arithmetic sequence. Oops, wait a minute. 110 and 24, that's 134. And then another 24. 158. 182. Okay, so up to now, Paint It Right has been the cheaper company, but then, okay, it's still cheaper at 7 hours, but then once you go to 8 hours, then you have 212 plus 16. This goes to 228, while the other one is at 230. Okay, so somewhere in between 7 and 8 hours, they change. Now, how can we find where they change? Well, again, we have to come up with an equation. So Paint by Numbers is going to be y equals starting at 100 and going up by 16 with x. And Paint It Right is going to be starting at 38 and going up by 24x. Now, we have talked about solving systems of equations. This is a system of equations. To find the place where the two lines cross, we could just find out where 100 plus 16x is equal to 38 plus 24x. And we can do two steps at the same time here. We can both subtract 16 and subtract 38. So we're actually going to make two zeros at the same time. A 0 here, a 0 there. This is 8x, and that's equal to 62. We divide by 8, and we get 7.75. It takes 7.75 hours, or 7 3/4 hours of work, and then they will be equal. After that, paint by numbers is cheaper. So if I do this one in red, then it's going to start higher, but then be shallower. And then if I do paint it right in blue, this is going to start lower and then catch up to it. And the place it catches up is right here, 7.75 for the x. And if I want to know how much the y is, all I have to do is substitute it. I can substitute it into the first equation. And I believe this will be a whole number. 100 plus 16 times 7.75 is $224. So your recommendation is, if you're going to get less than 8 hours of work or less than 7.75 hours of work, then you're going to choose the paint it right. And if you're going to do more than 7.75 hours of work, then you choose paint by numbers. Same thing back here. If you're going to have if you're going to have 5 windows cleaned, it doesn't matter which company. But if you're going to have more than 5 painted, then you want to stick with the first one here, the line that's lower in the long run. That's the Sunshine Express windows. Otherwise, you're going to go with painless windows if you're doing less than 5. And if you're doing exactly 5, it doesn't matter which one you choose. So there's some more here we didn't quite get to in class, but let's look at the takeaways here a little bit later. Takeaways. So if we're going to find the solution of a linear system, we're looking for the point of intersection. The point of intersection. Now, if you're going to use a graph, you're going to see the solution as a point. So see a point. The good thing about it is if you can graphs are fast and easy. The cons are, what about decimals? What about getting exact answers? That's a little harder to do. If you're using a table, you're going to see equal numbers. Just like we saw 100 in both tables. The pros are easy to build a table. The cons would be, again, what about exact answers? What about decimals? Are you really going to know if it's a decimal where that is? And then using algebra, how the solution is revealed is by solving. The pros are you get exact answers, but any cons or negative aspect would be you have to know how to solve. You have to know how to solve. which is why we worked on solving systems. Okay, that's the big idea from today's lesson. We'll see you next time.